Good evening, and welcome to the Architectural Review Committee meeting of July 17th, 2023. Please silence your cell phones. Staff, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Chair Jakeway is excused today. Vice Chair Rotman.
Here.
Member Dosey.
Here.
Member McCoy. Is, I believe, absent today. Member Poline.
Here.
Member Walsh.
Here.
And Member Thompson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Staff, may we have a report on the posting of the agenda?
Yes, the agenda for this meeting was made available for public access at the City Hall bulletin board on the west side of the council chamber at 9 p.m. Thursday, July 13th, 2023, and posted on the city's website in accordance with established policies.
Thank you. We have a short agenda this evening. Are there any changes to the agenda? If so, if not, may I have a motion to accept the agenda as posted? Any objections or changes? No. Do I have a second? Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented. Second.
So Dan has made the motion and John Walker has seconded.
Great, thank you very much. May we have a vote? All those, we're doing a roll call, is that right?
I was told, yes, we do need to do a roll call vote this evening, according to the city attorney, because we're both remote and in person. Member Thompson?
Yes.
Member Walsh?
Aye.
Member Poline?
Aye.
Member Dosey?
Aye.
Member Rotman?
Aye.
And the vote passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see here. So there are no agendas, no items on the consent agenda or unfinished business. So we'll move on to new business. Item 3A, which is Jim Landay, owner, requesting approval of a major development permit application for a 4,866 square foot, two-story mixed-use building and related site improvements, including an administrative minor modification for reduction of one required off-street parking space on a 10,000 net square foot lot located at 605 East Sunny Dunes Road. May we have a staff report, please?
Yes, and my apologies for something I forgot to give you on your cliff notes there, is we forgot to do public comment. So if we, that's my mistake. So if you wouldn't mind, we'll open it for public comment. If there's anybody here, either in Zoom land or in the meeting room here that wishes to speak on this item, can you please identify your hand on the Zoom call or otherwise? Anybody here?
Ken, I'll go with what you said and not repeat it. Is there anyone?
We have members.
I don't know why that keeps happening, so I apologize, Mr. Vice Chair. We have members in the Zoom room, but no one has raised their hand. So seeing nobody, I think we have no public comments.
Great,
thank you very much. So now we're ready for the staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So this is an application by Jim Landy, the property owner, for approval of a major architectural application for a 4,866 square foot, two-story mixed-use building and related site improvement on a 10,000 square foot lot located at 605 East Sunny Dunes Road. The development really is a two-story building and it's L-shaped. Beautiful, yes. I was just going to do that. No, that's okay. I'm going to share it. There we go. Okay, so that I've told you. So it is an architectural application. The zoning is the commercial manufacturing zone, and the general plan is mixed use, multi-use, and the project does conform to both the zone and the general plan. This is some context that was provided in your packet by the applicant, and it shows the area where the project is located along the Sunny Dunes corridor, and it's just east of South Palm Canyon. There's currently a vacant lot in what is otherwise a fully developed section of the city. These are the elevations showing both the street elevation and the rear elevation along with its parking lot. You can see the building has a drive-through area from the street into the rear parking lot that goes beneath the building. And here you have an actual drawing that helps understand the site a little bit better. The parking, the applicant is proposing in a precast concrete paver in the pattern that you see. The parking on the site is arranged again on the rear part of the parcel, bringing the building along the front of the property, which is in alignment with other existing buildings on this particular block. So as you look at the floor plans, the ground floor is retail use. Currently, he is anticipating a possible tenancy with a cannabis tenant who had previously gotten approvals for a regulatory permit for a cannabis use on this parcel. However, that particular development did not go forward. And so the owner is in negotiations with this particular cannabis permittee with an intent to rent. But again, tonight we're not looking at the cannabis application, but simply be aware that that is what is anticipated first floor commercial use would be. The second floor he anticipates being an art gallery on the majority of the second floor. Because this is in the CM zone, a caretaker's unit is possible, and that is proposed there. You see in yellow on your screen, and these uses are all in conformance with the underlying zone. So a couple of details. You'll notice on the roof deck over the dwelling unit, a deck, and the deck is proposed to have a synthetic wood surface on it, which is a product called Resista. And it's designed to be more resistant to the heat and deterioration that we get here in the desert from the sun. There's also mechanical equipment on the roof, which will be screened by both a solid parapet wall as well as a reverse louver screening, as you see in the middle of the screen here. And then the parking lot lighting does conform to the city's outdoor lighting ordinance in terms of cutoff angles and so on. And it is an LED, a pretty standard type of fixture on a pole. These are the solar studies. One of the concerns we had at staff level was with the amount of glass and glazing that you see on the building. And as you note in the justification letter for this project, the owner is aware that he is looking to do a considerable amount of glass in the building. It's going to need to be a high performance glass, and there's going to need to be a robust mechanical system to provide the cooling for this building. The building is proposed with photovoltaic panels, as you can see both on the axle and on these drawings. And these basically give you a sense of the kind of solar exposure that the building will have from morning through afternoon, both at the winter solstice and at the summer solstice. We'll come back to this if you have further questions. So the project has been reviewed against the architectural review guidelines of zoning code section 9404. And it does, after staff has gone through each one of these items as noted in your staff report, the project does conform to the findings for architectural approval. So in closing on my slide presentation, it does conform to the development standards of the zone. It conforms with the architectural guidelines of architectural review. Under CEQA, the Planning Commission determined it to be categorically exempt as an infill project. And so the staff recommendation is to approve this project subject to the conditions of approval that you see attached to your staff report. The applicant's architect, Tony Stark, is here in the meeting with us today. If you have any questions of him, and I am available to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Does the committee have any questions for staff? Ken, is anybody raising their? Yes, Member Dozy.
Okay.
Ken, is there a proposed landscape lighting plan, or is it just the parking lot lighting as we see?
Mostly just the parking lot lighting, as you'll see. There'll be some modest amount of just low voltage lighting around some of the planting areas in the parking lot area. The other thing I did want to mention, and I didn't have it in my slide presentation, so I forgot to mention it, is when this project went through the Planning Commission last week, one of their recommendations that they wanted you to consider was the possibility of adding a couple of street trees in the public right of way to begin to sort of soften this portion of Sunny Dunes. Now, there are no street trees on Sunny Dunes. It was originally a pretty heavy industrial area, which has been slowly converting over to commercial uses. But in speaking with engineering and public works, if the committee believes that street trees would be appropriate here, from an engineering perspective, it would be possible to do. There is enough public sidewalk width in order to accommodate a street well, sorry, a tree well, and still have enough proper passage for ADA. And that the trees, because there are overhead lines in this particular area, would need to be something that has a canopy height limit that can either be managed naturally or via pruning. That's landscaping.
I think it's a good recommendation.
Are there any other questions of staff?
Did you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Perhaps you can enlighten us a bit on the site development. I noticed lot coverage is called out, but it indicates to be determined. And what, along with this zoning, is there are no required setbacks.
No. The CM zone, and I'm going to go to my staff report to make sure I quote this correctly. The CM zone has no front yard setback and rear yard setbacks. And as you see in the way that this block is developed, the buildings have been brought up through the street edge. Or
Right.
established that edge pretty much along most of this block.
And lot coverage, not as a percentage?
No. The place where lot coverage or floor area ratio is imposed is through the general plan.
Mhm.
And in this zone, the general plan is a 0.5 FAR. And the project does conform to it.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? If not, Ken, I have a question. I assume you've monitored this project through its progression. I noticed that there was a discrepancy in the site plan versus the planting plan and the civil drawing in terms of the parking layout. The landscape and civil show 13 spaces, but where the applicant is only is asking for a modification allowing for 12. Did the building change in such a way that they had to lose one space?
Yes, that's correct. Through both the shading requirement and the dedication of easement in order to provide for the full half street right of way. The lot, which was originally 130 by 100, was reduced down to 100 by 100. And so everything got squeezed a little bit further south, and they were unable to get the full 13 spaces in. So the planning commission did approve an A&M reducing the parking from 13 to 12.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, then we can hear from the applicant. And Mr. Stark is there? Is that who's going to present?
Yes, here.
Yeah, thank you. So good evening. If you don't mind, come to the microphone at the table, introduce yourself, and you have 10 minutes.
Good evening, everyone.
Press your button.
Good evening, everyone. Excited to be here and showing this project to you. We've been working on this with the clients for, I think it's about 6 months now, and we're developing it and working it through planning. My name is Anthony Stark, with Stark Architects, and I think in general, Ken described the project in general and per our intent, and I can also be here for any questions specifically.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions for the applicant? Or do we go to the public at this point?
No, you can do questions of the applicant now, and then open it to any other questions if there may be.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee of the applicant?
Member Thompson has a question.
Member Thompson?
Good evening. Is there any lighting on the building itself?
All of the lighting is, you'll see on, I don't know if you have the ceiling plans, but we're just gonna have down lighting on the soffits, walkways, and the drive-through area, and just over the front door. So it won't be any wall mounted fixtures or anything like that. It'll just be on soffits or horizontal elements on the building.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a
Member
question.
Josie?
On the site plan, as you come into entry or the drive to the parking in the back, on the east side, there's some landscape area, but then on the west side, it shows all hardscape, along the drive, along the wall. Is there a reason or some access there that could not be a landscape area?
On the east side? Or is that what you're
On
talking about?
if it'd be on the west side.
On the west side, so there's two parking spaces and then we've got a corner, large landscape corner. There is the 5-foot setback from the property line to the parking curb. So we do have close to another 4 feet of area for planting in front of that car in the corner. Is that what you're referring to?
No, this would be adjacent to the drive aisle or the entry drive off of Sunny Dunes.
Okay, well, that, we could have some planting there, we may need to have a sidewalk access. Into the back area, so that may adjust, but in intent, we could have some landscaping on that wall, I guess that would be the east wall of the retail space.
That would be beneath the,
Covered area, so it is not gonna get much sun. Yeah, it is covered completely. I don't right.
Yeah, I'm trying to how I could explain it. Okay, you see where the stairwell comes up?
Yes,
So it shows hardscape, at the stairwell access, and then also along that entry drive between the building itself, I guess, and the curb for the entry drive. It's, if you looked on sheet, ground floor plan, I guess would be sheet 1.
that's 8101, is that what you were referring to?
Yes.
Yes, so there's a wall on grid line, I guess that's 5, is that the wall you're talking about, and then the drive next to that?
Yes. So it would be just adjacent to that. It's a sliver of concrete.
Yes, like I said, that is, we could probably have some landscaping, and again, that's covered completely. There's a building all above that. And it's, 30-foot deep of building and a bridge essentially there. That would be there, so. If our landscape architect thinks we could probably get something potentially to grow in that location, but it's not gonna get any sun.
Or even some rock material or something.
Yeah, it might be able to be a gravel or something.
Ken, can you pull that up so I can see where we're talking about?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, shared that.
Well, I'm hoping I can see the building that's named.
Because you have to go back.
bear with me just a minute.
Some computer glitch.
Okay, here we go. So I think the area that member Dosi is talking about, in this particular image, you can see the stairway on the rear of the building. And member Dosi, are you talking about that area that's kind of beneath the stair and then underneath the building along the column line 5?
Correct. As you go towards Sunny Dunes along that wall that is behind the stairway, yes.
So as he was explaining,
the area that you're talking about is currently paved. They may need to use that area as a walkway from the parking lot to the front part of the street. But if possible, they would try to put some, you're saying some gravel or other type of material.
Can you pull up the plan view? It would be on the first floor plan.
Does this one work?
Yes, yes. So it's the area adjacent where it says lounge space. Right where your cursor is.
Right
So they
around
can,
here, yes.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's too narrow walkway.
Member Robin, are you able to see that okay?
I can see it fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks for pulling that up. Anything else, Member Dorsey?
No, thank you.
Okay, any other committee members with questions? If not, I have a couple.
Okay.
So in the justification letter, the applicant said something about the storefront being white. But then on the material board, it showed both a clear anodized and a white. Can you talk a little bit about, is there some discrepancy there or?
No, at this point in time, that specific finish is still being determined. We're working with the client on that. And depending on our final decision, we may have two different colors. We may just have one or one or the other. We haven't finalized that yet.
If it did go two colors, how would you distinguish what would go where?
Well, at the second level of the art gallery on the outside is going to be it's going to be flush glazing on the outside. So it's going to be just a silicone joint with the mullion behind it. It'll be an offset system. So that may have aluminum, glazing on the inside. The first level may go with white, which will be standard storefront. So it'll be exposed, you see it and run around. But that's all those
Okay.
details still being determined.
I see. Okay, good.
Right now, Member Robin?
The idea is that there's these volumes are somewhat going to be similarity or some similar elements, but we might change them a little bit so that they would stand out separately. So the cantilever glass volume on the second floor, we don't necessarily may not want that to match the mullions on the ground floor to kind of give those volumes a different texture and a different feeling or different, design about them. So they're be subtle, but that's our thinking.
Okay. And then I saw some information about the lighting for the project, but I didn't see what color temperature you're proposing for the outdoor lighting and the indoor, actually.
Probably less than 3,000, probably, 2,800 or something like that, but it may go to 3,000. We're still working with that we haven't gotten into specific detail with our lighting plan yet. But that'll be my thinking. It won't be bright light.
And then on the east property line where you have the bowed wall at the driveway. So I'm not currently in Palm Springs, but I pulled up Google Earth and it looks like there's a hedge on the adjacent property of Bougainvillea. So my question is about the maintenance of the space between the bowed wall and that hedge on both the top, both the Sunny Dunes side and then the area that's kind of on the parking lot side where you've got the trash enclosure butting up to that bowed wall. How are you going to manage that?
A good question. I haven't looked at it directly. I'm not sure. Is there an existing fence that must be on their property that has that bougainvillea? I'm assuming.
I would assume so because it's done as a hedge.
Yeah, so it's not, we are, any new walls that we put in wouldn't be obviously, anywhere near that. So I guess the intent would be that we would be leaving it intact, the existing one with their fence.
Okay. All right, those are all the questions I have. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Member Walsh has a question.
Yeah, if I may, a couple things that the residential occupancy is going to carry with it a light and air requirement of some sort.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of wondering, most of that glazing looks like fixed. What is your thinking on that?
Yeah, there's a big slider in the bedroom on the backside, and then there's a multi-slider in the living area.
Okay,
On the balcony.
okay. That makes sense, and that will cover you for that. All right. And I did read, you're recognizing the issue of the solar gain.
Mhm.
And the only thing I thought as I looked at the sun studies, it's a little bit ironic in Palm Springs that obviously you sort of welcome the winter months.
Mhm.
And overhangs are very effective at the middle of June.
Yeah, so really well.
The kind of difficult one, surprisingly, is always in between those two, April and October.
Mhm.
And so you get low angle and the ambient air temperatures may not be that high, but you get this piercing cooking sun sometimes. And that's the only thing it doesn't show here. And that just would be interesting how deep into the spaces you're gonna get, direct solar penetrating.
Yeah.
So, I would encourage you just to look at that, but it sounds like you are already aware of just the challenge around that. The streetscape faces due north.
Correct.
So I don't know, that would not be on my radar to worry about too much, but certainly on the other side, again, I think that the extension of the floor and the roof plane structure in June take care of that, but I would definitely be looking at March, April.
Yeah, we can study that as well.
Your roof is sloped in some fashion. Where's
Yes.
this water going?
It'll be collected in some downspouts that'll be internalized, don't want any exposed.
Okay, and that is probably accounted for on your civil, yes?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that detail. We don't have structural or final design for taking the water off the roof and where it's going.
Right. Your guardrail from finished roof deck up is solid
Yes,
and it's 42 inches, I assume?
correct.
Okay, okay. All right, I think that was it. Thank you.
I did, looking at this image that Ken has, you are adding a tree right where that light post is in that rear bank of cars.
Correct. There's three in it.
Yeah,
There's three
okay.
on it. Yes.
Okay, great. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much. Now we go to public comment. Ken, is there anyone?
There's no one here in the room here at City Hall, and I don't think we have, Chris is checking the Zoom waiting room.
Nobody has their hand raised.
So
No public comment at this time.
Well, thank you. So then we go to discussion. So anybody like to offer some comment or discussion about this project?
I'll go first.
Ann?
Yes, I think it's actually a nice addition to the neighborhood and it blends really well with the Albert Frey building next door. I think it's a nice looking project and I'm totally in favor of it.
You, anyone else? Member Dosey?
Yeah, I like the narrative that the developer sees the potential for this area and he cites some of the newer housing and development projects adjacent to it. So this area could be in transition. I like the idea of the planning commissions of working in some street trees, and it could begin to start kind of a theme for that area. And then the only other recommendations I had was we discussed about the possibility of some rock or other desert shade tolerant materials on the west side of the driveway. And I think there could be some additional plant materials under the stairwell itself. And then also along the Sunny Dune streetscape, I know the building hangs over and they show some boulder groupings, which I think are attractive. And again, I think there's another opportunity there to put some sculptural type desert accent plants along that street frontage in those planters. And it could go very well in a contemporary way with the building.
Thank you. Any other comments? Member Walsh?
I would kind of concur and maybe sort of round out some of the things that have been said. You can tell when you look at a project like this that a tremendous amount of care went into the composition of the design and just general thoughtfulness. I also think it would be significantly contributory to the overall neighborhood scape and streetscape. So yeah, no, I think it will be very successful.
Great. And I'll just finish up. I think I agree with everyone. I think, again, I think a little softening on the front, you know, where those boulders are. I agree with Tom on that comment, because I think it feels a little, it just needs a little bit of warmth in the front.
Thank you, Member Poline. Yeah, I'm in concurrence with the comments that have been previously made regarding the landscaping. I think it's a really handsome project. I will say that I really enjoyed reading the justification letter. It was like a love letter to this building. So I commend Mr. Landay. And then the only other thing is I'd like to propose a stipulation that the color temperature of the lighting not exceed 3,000, that it be 3,000 or less, and that they seriously look at how to maintain the space on the east side of the bowed wall at the driveway, because I think long-term that could be a real maintenance issue. With that, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I have one additional comment. I think, and maybe it was brought up earlier too, that they could explore some up lighting from the landscape to light the building itself. There's some opportunities there to create some nice shadow effects, especially on that entry drive as it goes under the building and on those walls. So I would just make that as a recommendation or comment for the developer.
Okay, great. With that, would you like to make a motion, Member Dosey?
I'll make a motion for approval with the comments as stated.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Member Thompson.
That was- Thank you. And may we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Would you just clarify that the findings in the staff report, which you're basing your motion upon?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
I'll just, if Tom would clarify his motion that your motion, your moving approval based on the findings in the staff report and the comments that have been made here today. So that we acknowledge.
Yes,
Yeah.
the motion does include the comments in the staff report as well.
Thank you. Okay, the roll call,
Fine.
Member Thompson,
Aye.
Member Walsh,
Aye.
Member Poline,
Aye.
Member Dosey,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Altman.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. So that concludes our business. So are there any comments from the committee first? No? How about from staff?
I don't have any, Chair,
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is that we have seated three new members of the planning commission, including someone on this call. And as part of the discussion at last week's planning commission meeting, they re-upped something that I gather they used to do where a planning commissioner would sort of observe the ARC meeting so that they could report back to the full planning commission. Just to kind of keep a two-way flow of information, since you all are looking at decisions that they've opined on previously. So they're going to be beginning that in September, and they'll be kind of working through a cycle alphabetically, essentially, to have members sit in. So in September, the now Vice Chair Lori Land will be observing quietly. She doesn't plan to talk or participate much, but just wanted you all to know in case you see those faces coming in. That's all I have.
Well, with that, I don't know if this is officially my last meeting or the one in September. But I'm the person, I've been appointed to the planning commission. And I'll just say, if it is my last meeting, I just say that it's been a real pleasure to work with you all. I'm really proud of the work that we've accomplished. And I think you guys are incredible. With that, I maybe see you again in March when it rotates to me. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So with that, that will be the conclusion of our meeting. And we will adjourn until the next meeting, which will be on September 5th, 2023 at 5:30. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yay, over and out.